the TI5 EU qualifiers. We are down to the playoff stage. We have 4 teams left. I am joined by Hani, and our casters for the next series will be Cuddle Guy as well as Syndrin. Thank you guys for joining us.
Of course, of course.
So
Pleasure to be here.
Our schedule for today, we have the first series, which is going to be Navi versus 4 Anchors plus Sea Captain, and then the next one after that will be NIP versus Vega Squadron, who just recently 2-0'd with some pretty impressive strats.
Very true. I do think going into the series, we have Navi coming up against four Anchors. I believe that 4 Anchors had the harder group. So to me, Navi has to prove something here.
Mm-hmm.
But they had an impressive standing in their group themselves. So
Navi proved something by getting on top of their of their group.
Yeah. We were a bit nervous at first because opening the first Navi series was them against London Conspiracy, and they got 0-2'd. We questioned whether or not they've been studying up on these kind of teams like London Conspiracy, maybe even 4 Anchors, teams that have kind of been floating under the radar a bit, if they'd had the capability to just be able to stomp through them. So after they made their way after that first series, they managed to end up on top. So props to them to rally it together. They created some of the biggest, most highlight-worthy series, their matchup against Vega, and, well, as you can see by the Group B standings, there they are, 9 points when they finish things out. Their last series, of course, was against Yellow Submarine. Merlini, you and I casted that. That was a blast.
The Pudge.
It was crazy.
I feel like based on the games I've seen from both these teams, to me, Navi had the harder wins, even though you argued they had the weaker group. All in all, the other group had both Alliance and NIP, even though Alliance didn't do so well this event. I don't know. I feel like when 4ASC were ahead, they didn't seem as shaky as Navi did, where Navi barely won. It looks good. They go 3-0-1, but I think realistically they could have just as easily been 2-1-1 or maybe 1-2-1, and then they wouldn't even have made it. Like, it was really close in a couple of those series. Against Hellraisers, they barely won game 2 in 84 minutes after, honestly, pretty much having it in the bag. I think at like minute 35, they started making some mistakes. Hellraisers also played a great game, I believe, in that one, and you saw the LC one. Let's not talk too much about that one, because that was the 2-0. That was when Navi just got into the tournament, and I think they just started off on the wrong foot, and they pulled it together. But I don't know. Do you guys feel like there's a clear favorite for this? I feel like if you forced me to pick one, I would take 4ASC, because I actually think their wins were more convincing.
Yes.
Now, do we have to factor in at all the, like, you know, coming into this, they were all playing best of 2s, and do you think best of 3s is maybe something where Navi might be able to perform better, having that kind of game to feel out a team like 4 Anchors and then adapt? Or do you think that could even work out better for a team like 4 Anchors? You know, you can kind of come into a best of 2, maybe not warmed up and ready for game 1. Suddenly you're down a game, then maybe it gets to your head, and then you're quickly down 2 games. I don't know. I hear from a lot of players that best of 3s make a world of difference. So what do you guys think?
It kind of makes a difference, I would say. It's just having this format where if you get 2-0 ahead, and you get those 3 points, it just means a lot in these kind of groups. But getting a best of 3 obviously is you have a match to balance it out. If you come off having the wrong strat, you're not going to get punished by it. Having a draw in the group stage means a lot, like it just means a lot more for the team, because you have a chance to come back in this BO3 series.
Fair enough, fair enough. We see right here, Group A, how they made it to this point. Obviously, we saw yesterday for any Alliance fans, very heartbreaking there at the end. Power Rangers pulled out that ridiculous Alchemist, got that level 1 Roche, followed with a Bounty Rune, and then he was looking to break some records in this patch. It was out of control. Alliance did end up falling short. So with that, NIP move on forward. So does 4 Anchors, obviously, and we could potentially have Fnatic at TI5. That would be pretty cool, wouldn't it, Hani?
Minus high.
It would be indeed.
So with that, you could see what we're going to be currently working with in the playoffs. And, you know, this is where things can turn, you know, still around. Stories could change. We saw during the North America run, you know, a team like Mouse Sports starting at the lower bracket. We were expecting them to be able to blast on through, but necessarily that did not happen. So it's going to be a bit interesting here. And how much of an advantage do you think it is for these top 2 teams like Navi and 4 Anchors to be able to be on the upper part of the bracket, getting that second life? You know, it's elimination series right now for NIP and Vega.
That's a huge advantage. It allows them to, whoever loses gets a little bit, I mean, the winner of the lower bracket gets some tape on the upper bracket and vice versa. But you get this kind of, I think some teams are better when they're under pressure and they have to win, I guess. And when it comes to player mentality, some people are like, oh, we have 2 lives. You're maybe not giving 100%. I mean, obviously you should, but it's still, you can't shut that out entirely in the back of your mind that you do have the second life. I think in the past we've seen examples of that, especially with the old Navi who seemed to always play best in the lower bracket. That's just how it seemed. So some teams have more experience and are stronger when it really matters. I think for a team like 4ASC, it's perhaps a bigger advantage than it is for Navi to start in the winner's bracket. And when it comes, that's for me, that's based on player experience. I think a team like 4ASC have a higher risk perhaps of crumbling under the pressure of playing an elimination game in the lower bracket than a team like Navi, who have very experienced players in Art, Southwest, and Dendi and Funnick. So definitely an advantage there, and that's the mental aspect. Then it's obvious that having 2 lives is just great, right?
I would say next to that, though, having 2 lives, obviously, it's great. You have a mentality of where you can screw up and still have a second chance, but the other factor is you win and you're guaranteed Seattle. That's also quite a great motivation there.
And it's a big deal because I think the other groups are much weaker, right? So it's 2 teams out of 4 out of the second place teams that advance to the main event. So of the 4 regions, you would think that Europe is the strongest compared to the other 3. So it's like more than a 25% chance that the second place will probably advance, or more than 50%, I guess, since there are 2 teams. So I think it's a big weight off your shoulder, similar to how Complexity was really relieved that they won the winner's bracket. I think whoever wins this is just really happy to get first or second, and might even mean more than getting first as opposed to second.
All right, well, let's talk more about this first matchup right now. We got Navi going against 4 Anchors. We only dabbled a bit about it, but who are going to be the players that we need to look out for from each team? I mean, going to Navi, we know their signature Dendi and, of course, Havos, but I think through this tournament, the big story has also been Soniko. This guy has pulled out some very effective support play. We saw that one game, which really popped out to me when he grabbed at the Winter Wyvern. I know that was with you, Merlini, that we casted together, and he was able to really harass that mid lane, get inside their head, and he was really just all over the place. And this is the guy who I think really can bring his A game.
I think Funnick also is a big player to look out for. In the game versus Yellow Submarine, he had a really fast blink as an offlane Earthshaker, and I don't think you can give Funnick that sort of easy time in the first 10 minutes because he's a player that just dominates with little space.
I can agree with that.
To me, I would say Navi's gameplay comes down to 2 factors. I think one is that Havos gets the right hero. He usually comes off a lot better if he has something like a gyrocopter, maybe even a Naix like the Lifestealer, or more strength-based heroes, I would say, for him. That he gets a farming advantage in the early game. He just scales very well if he gets those 10 minutes of farm, 50 minutes of farm. And then the other thing is that Dendi, if he gets supported in middle, it's a player that if he gets those gangs where he maybe gets up 1-2 kills, he can snowball very hard on the side of Navi.
Let's look over the other side here, Sin. We got 4 Anchors, and, of course, their Sea Captain now. I feel like this team, it's hard to kind of select one particular individual. They all seem to step their game up.
Matumba Man.
Matumba Man, though, he seems to be an all-star when he can. Trixie, the veteran that he is, he's able to pull out a lot of stops when he works in that off lane. Can't help but, love Alex because he's a big fan of the Coddle. They put so much priority in the Coddle, they even pick it up early. So I wouldn't be surprised if one of these games they might try to sneak in that Coddle PL as their 1-2 punch.
I think in one way, the player to watch out the most for is Trixie because he can be like day and night in games. I think in this qualifier, out of all these 5 players, he might have had the most inconsistent performance. I don't know if you guys agree with that.
I mean, that's kind of how he was on Fnatic when he played off.
Yeah, he has some games where he's just incredible and he has games where he really crumbles. And I don't feel like we've seen the games where everything just goes completely wrong, but inside the individual game, he seems to be the one that gets picked off maybe a little bit too much and at the same time can make some really big plays on a hero like Axe. He played a solid game. It wasn't outstanding. I think his Weaver game, he died 2, maybe 3 times too much, the one I remember seeing. And then, of course, as you mentioned, I think both Matumbaman and Nymphy have been playing really well this tournament on their core positions. And Boogie and Valix, just solid performances overall. What's really interesting for me about this team is that, like you said, there's no one that's outstanding, but there's also no one who you could be like, okay, this is definitely, if they lose, it's definitely this guy's fault. They just play as a unit. They seem to have good team mentality and morale. And, it's really a team effort for this team, more than any other, I would say.
I think generally the team performance has been outstanding so far in this qualifier. But if I would name one player, to me, is Matumbaman that runs the game for them. If he does not have a great start, and he did not have a great start on a Bloodseeker, one game where they lost to Alliance, sure, that was maybe unfortunate because they didn't get that Roche, but he was on a Bloodseeker and he didn't get to do a lot in that game. And when he was Lishrak, he had a lot of impact on that Lishrak on the side lane. Same with the other Bloodseeker game that he had. So to me, it's a lot about how he can perform in these games and how he gets to go into this game.
All right. Well, as we get ready to go into the draft, let's think about that a bit now. For either of these teams, where do you select the the lead into the draft, what kind of respect bands are you looking to dish out? Are you kind of doing with the usual suspects? I know, of course, maybe the Queen of Pain is a primary grab for someone like Dendi, or do you put more focus on making sure you're rid of Havos? Get that gyrocopter out of the mix. I don't know if Lifestealer is something really worthy going into a ban, but maybe against this particular team it may be. Or on the other side, for 4 anchors, they can be crafty and pick up something like you were talking about, the Bloodseeker and even the Lesh. So you only have so many options here, Sin. Where do you think they're going to put their focus as far as banning?
I think 4ASC will definitely get rid of Dendi's Quap. I think that's been his strongest performing hero in this tournament. We've seen some incredible jumps in from him with both Sonic Wave and Scream. And the other ban, I'm wondering if they want to ban Artstyles Chen in the first phase. I don't know if we've even seen him play it. He's played a lot of Shadow Demon, mainly in the games I've seen, but that was Artstyles' hero in the last 3 or 4 weeks for Navi. So I could see them banning that. I am leaning towards Quap Gyro, though, as the priorities for them in the first phase. And for Navi, I think you ban out the Lesh, honestly. That seems to be the hero for 4ASC. They played on Matumba. They played on Nemphy. Both of them excellent players on that. Could even look towards Shadow Fiend, which Nemphy has also had great success with. Yeah, those would probably be my 2 to look out for if you're Navi.
Gentlemen, would you agree with that as well? Hani, what do you think?
I think Leshrac definitely for Navi. 4SC has played that in both roles, as well as on the side of 4SC, you want to ban out Gyrocopter to me just because it just fits this meta right now. People tend to figure out this hero, and to me, it's the strongest hero right now. As well as, I can agree with the Queen of Pain, but moreover, the Queen of Pain is generally strong on almost all lineups. I feel like the hero is just a top pick, and I wouldn't just cut it down that Denny played it overwhelmingly in this qualifier, but it's just a good pick.
Certainly is. We can see there on the screen, Twitch chat with their current predictions, putting Navi as just a slight edge favorite at 57 to 4 anchors 43.
I wonder what that percentage would be going into the tournament if this was the first game of the qualifier.
I called them first.
For
Navi
ASC?
first?
No, I called Navi as first for the entire qualifier.
The entire okay.
All right. So just to go on top of that, now we know what Twitch wants. What do you think? Do you think that's about accurate? And then enhance on that a bit, because it's almost time to start the draft. We can go right through with the predictions. Do you think it's going to be a 2-0 sweep for either team, or are we going the full 3-game stretch?
I'm going to say, so I did say I favor 4ASC, but I think it's going to be close. So 2-1 for them.
2-1 for them. Hani?
I do agree. I am actually thinking that Navi is going to go through the lower bracket.
All right.
I also second that, or third that.
Third that. So 2 1s for 4 anchors. Should I be the one odd man out? I was going to say the same thing, but I'll try to be
good for you.
I'll be a bit different, I guess. I'll go 2-1 for Navi. So we have maybe a victor here. And maybe it'll be me against all you big Dota fancy pros. All right? So with that said, we're getting ready to load in the draft. It looks like it's a bit of a slow loading period here, so we'll have to wait a little bit else.
There's 2 more heroes I want to talk about. First is Io.
Okay.
What do you guys think about whether it's going to get past the banning phase, whether people are going to like Sonika plays a lot of Disruptor, so I feel like Navi might let it through.
I think Sonika plays a really good IO. I just don't, so far I felt like that I wouldn't put it with a Tiny. I just don't think of those Tiny is like, it's not that fitting combo for them.
And then what about Phantom Lancer? Because I think he's really good versus Lifestealer. Like there's very
he
little
owns Lifestealer.
Yeah, he owns Lifestealer really hard. So I think they might actually like let him get Lifestealer, and then, or do Navi want to ban out the Phantom Lancer?
Oh, I mean, we've seen the Phantom Lancer played by I think Matumba played Phantom Lancer once. Yeah,
twice maybe.
Twice even.
Yeah, at least twice. I know.
Okay. It is a ban, but not in the first 2. I could see.
Oh
3
yeah,
and
definitely
4.
not the first big.
Yeah.
But we already talked about Gyro being banned out, Leshrac being banned out. I think those are 2 of the better Phantom Lancer counters. And then if Queen of Pain is also banned out, you're really lacking on AoE from your main cores. And they're very likely to draft single target ones after that. And I don't know, it seems like it works really well with 4AC because they pick it up a lot.
Yeah. It's hard to tell. I can see the Phantom Lancer ban coming, but I would say that assumption is still hard to make at the very start of the draft.
All right, speaking of drafts, it looks like we finally managed to load on in, and we want to get there right at the head start so we can check out exactly what they're going to be doing through those start bans, since we did put a lot of emphasis as how they're going to be controlling the game. You risk doing those more primary like Gyro, Queen of Pain bans, and something like that little Wisp will sneak on through. Or we'll see if 4 anchors are going to be opening up with that kind of coddle PL style, because it seems like when they do go for PL, they'll like lead out of the gate with it right here. But it looks like at the start, Navi going to be banning out that Lesh we were talking about.
2 out of 4.
Yeah,
Let's
here
go.
we go, gentlemen. Let's see how smart we are. Now,
Shadow Fiend.
Shadow Fiend for them, maybe 4 anchors go Gyro thereafter. Let's see if that's going to be the case or not. A lot of emphasis here.
I've been seeing a lot of 4AC.
Damn it. No.
I've been seeing a lot of 4ASC on Radiant and a lot of Navi on Dire. Do you think that both of these teams prefer these sides? And if so, for what reason?
We didn't even talk about Undying. I don't know why we completely ignored that hero.
That's the problem with this new patch, man.
That's the
Sometimes
gyro?
just,
It was
heroes
one or the
forget
other. I think Navi would have picked Undying if they banned Gyro. So, all right, we got 2 out of 4. That's okay.
Is that okay? That's 50%. That's usually
Well,
enough.
we also got a Gyro pick, so that also.
I would say that's a very important opening for Navi here, though. Getting a gyrocopter for her host.
As far as you asked about the sides, right, Ben? How successful have Navi been with controlling Roche in this tournament? Do you feel like, have they picked Dire, or has it just been chance?
I don't know. I think they've been on Dire
Coddle PL?
more than Radiant. If I could, I don't know what the stats are on that, but I also seen 4ASC on Radiant a lot. So I don't know, like if it just so happens that way, or maybe they lose a coin toss a lot. But it seems like one of these sides has preference for Radiant and Dire. Usually both teams want the same side, right? But
Yeah, but Navi don't really seem to draft lineups that are really good at doing Roche. They
Right.
haven't focused a lot on the minus armor or medallion pickups or whatnot. So I don't know. Maybe they just. What are the advantages right now? Like, what's the consensus of what's strong? I still feel like the Radiant offlane is stronger.
Yeah.
Even after the multiple buffs to the Dire offlane, I still feel like Radiant has an advantage there. In the mid lane, Radiant may be slightly favored with their high ground there. Access to Ancients.
that's kind of questionable because Navi they use the Winter Wyvern and you can only do that on the if you're on Dire because they flew him over from the Ancient Cliff and they just ganked mid and I think they actually they really like that part of it being on Dire.
It's true. You can't do it on the other side. It's very
Yeah.
hard to execute. It
So
that
it,
way.
it looks strong, but only they just absolutely dominated Shadow Fiend. So I think they actually want them to pick Shadow Fiend on Radiant.
But do you think they're picking Dire for Wyvern?
No.
like-
I think they're okay with giving up Radiant for first pick because
say-
they're really comfortable on Dire.
I'd say Dire is a bit better for the jungle part. You have jungle opportunities as well as stacking opportunities for supports, which are a bit better to me on Dire if you're not focused on the mid lane. Like, of course, for a Shadow Fiend in the mid lane, it's nice to be Radiant that can stack at the same time, farm that mid lane a bit more safely. That's why I would choose the Radiant side as well. You were mentioning off lane as well as mid lane. I think Radiant, in terms of just the lane setups, is stronger. But on Dire, you have the ancient spot I would say is a bit better on Dire as well as the jungle.
Yeah, it's easier for them to counter ward the safe lane pull with sentries too on Dire. You can correct me if I'm wrong. There's the perfect sentry ward placement. Like there's no way with 2 sentries you don't counter ward everything. There also isn't on Radiant. I think if you place it perfectly, but there's a really high chance you have to use both. Whereas on Dire, there's a really high chance you only need 1.
I've seen people use like 3 on Dire or 3 on Radiant, trying to block the Radiant pull and almost not get it. So you might have to use more than 2.
All right. Well, I guess all in all, we prioritize Radiant a bit. At least I would, based on this. That sounds a bit better for me.
Yeah.
But,
4 anchors have got to love Radiant. Every time they run
Tuskman.
this, they roll with this every time on the Radiant side, this Coddle PL. I mean, are we going to be seeing their usual pickup? Trixie going with the Weaver to the off lane, and I believe outside of that, they would pick up something like a Rubik. But I really like what Navi have done. They're not going to kind of stall around a bit. They just go right for the Night Stalker. And obviously, a nice little rivalry between him and the Coddle.
When I actually see those 2 heroes, Gyrocopter as well as Night Stalker, you were mentioning the Weaver. To me, Weaver is not that great because of the silence.
Yeah.
I think the silence is actually quite good against the Weaver. Other than that, Zeus to me is a very strong pick against the Phantom Lancer, as well as it works very well together with a Night Stalker. It hasn't been picked up at all in this qualifier.
maybe
Glimmer Cape.
once.
Maybe once, but
it's very rare.
I still think it's a very strong hero.
Oh, yeah, Alliance picked it yesterday after they were knocked out. But that was just that game was barely a game. They were just screwing around. But I think there might have been one serious Zeus pick, because that was not the first pick of Zeus in qualifiers in general, but it could be the first Neuro. So.
Because it didn't get that many nerfs at all. It just got a vision nerf on the ultimate.
Yeah, I think that was it.
Yeah,
I remember talking with Envy about it. He just kept talking about how the playstyle has shifted a lot, and as well as Glimmer Cape.
Glimmer Cape.
So he said both of those combined nerfed the hero a lot.
Yeah,
No
Glimmer Cape
direct
is kind of
nerfs.
a problem. That's true.
All right, so we'll have to see if the grab of the Night Stalker is indeed going to change things up.
Has
for
4AC
anchors.
used Tusk a lot?
Yeah, I was wondering that too. I don't remember seeing it. This could be some scrim information from pre-qualifiers or something, maybe. I don't know.
It looks like
Right,
Shadow Demon
Shadow
is going to
Demon.
be the 3rd pick. More illusions, the better, I suppose, but also good at being able to zone out whatever the potential offlaner could be for the side of Na'Vi.
I would say it's also a very good steal. I think Navi ran that hero quite often, having a Shadow Demon, and it's pretty good against the Phantom Lancer.
Yep.
So I think it's good as well as it counters well.
Yeah, there are multiple really good points about picking the Shadow Demon. I actually think the synergy with Caudle is pretty good. It makes it very easy to line an Illuminate in the laning phase if you want to run a tri-lane. It opens up for aggressive tri-lane as well. In addition to that, it's a way of keeping Phantom Lancer safe. If Doppelganger's down or if he gets silenced by Night Stalker, you can delay for those 2.5 seconds and probably get him out afterwards. And also pretty solid against the Gyrocopter. I don't know if he's going to run for the homing missile build or not, but regardless, then you can also avoid, if you time it perfectly, I think you can actually avoid both impacts of the call down. I think there's 2 seconds between the two. And if you do it very well, you could really shut him down. Now, this is a good third pick, though. That's a problem for 4 anchors.
Yeah, Brood Mother.
They have no counter.
I think they can aggro, though, with Caudle, PL, Shadow Demon.
Yes.
Caudle's Shadow Demon was one of the 2 most popular supports in tri-lanes not too long ago.
It's a good axe game. I think they're going to grab that now.
And they do go for it.
Yeah.
Trixie does like to play the axe, so yeah, they could try to see if they can match up the axe and Broodmother 1-on-1 and indeed go with the aggro.
I would say it's very risky though. Going into Night Stalker says he has a lot of stats, he has a slow, and Gyrocopter in a short lane is always good.
But what if you just put PL mid? We were talking about that yesterday, Hani, that you think PL matches up very well mid against most heroes. You just land spam the hero and you last hit with a Quelling Blade or just your regular attack damage, which is pretty high, and you just bottle Crow.
I was about to mention that.
Okay, sorry, I stole your thunder, but
But
what if they do that?
I mean, I think it's good, but it's still a tough decision to make.
Oh, okay. It's that kind of game.
I don't think it's that risky for them to aggro, though. The reason Shadow Demon... this was also the patch when Gyrocopter was really popular, so whenever they go on a hero, they just defensively disrupt, and then the illusions tank the majority of the Rocket Barrage. So Rocket Barrage is actually very useless in that try-on-try, when generally it's a really big dominant force.
I just don't... I feel like this isn't going to be a try-on-try anymore. I think art style is going to play in the Radiant Jungle, and they're going to crush the Axe with Brood Enchantress. They're going to force support rotation, and then the question is if 4AS sees whatever dual lane in that case they will have remaining in the top can beat Gyro and S.
They can just do Caudle, PL top, and SD and X bottom, though. I also don't think that's that bad of an option. Or PL mid, as you guys talked about.
Do you think SD and Axe can manage against the new Enchantress plus Brood?
Ench
gets 2 or 3 creeps, and they just dive the tower. What do you do?
Disrupt the Axe, and then his illusions spin and kill most of the other units.
You just don't hit X. You go for and kill SD.
Oh yeah, you just have SD just sit behind and wait for them to go on X. I think it's playable.
Okay.
I would say Enchantress still has to watch out a lot. If you get a disrupt onto the Enchantress and you follow up with a call, and if you're a bit lucky with the spins, you need like 1-2 spins, and Ench is still dead.
Yeah, she is very fragile. That's true. What's her base armor? It's pretty low, right? It's like 1 or something.
It's
So
pretty
X.
low.
It's quite low, as well as strength against is very low. It's probably it's the lowest in the game, I think.
I think she has 1.
You can call her from like half HP.
You just have a lot of movement speed on that hero.
Yeah.
Last pick coming out for 4 anchors were, unless they are going to decide to do PL for whatever reason in the mid lane, this should be their mid lane grab. Anything standing out? Shadow Fiend is still there if they want to fall back for it. But outside of that, anything popping out? Okay, Shadow Fiend. There it is.
Now, the good news with picking Shadow Fiend here is that if the Enchantress doesn't run aggressively into the enemy jungle, or for whatever reason they can manage to zone her out.
Oh my! Maybe they're just taking a little bit of that yellow submarine flavor here into
They got
their
inspired.
first matchup.
But that is probably the scariest matchup for Shadow Fiend. 1 hook, even if you're behind, it is a kill, and it is a Dandy Pudge here.
When's the last time we've seen Dendi on Pudge? People have been calling out for it for so long.
I feel like Pudge in the mid lane is better on Radiant than Dire, though. Like, the angles that you have and the general vision and the way you ward. I feel like when you're playing Radiant, you have, like, the way the cliff is shaped, that you go to the right and then you can hook across. That plays a lot easier on Radiant than Dire. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you look at the mid lane, like, how it's built.
Yes.
I think Shadow Fiend in this is fairly safe. And if he feels intimidated, he can just go and farm the small camp as well. He just raises out, raises that, and I don't know. To me, Pudge mid is kind of a thing of the past because this hero does not scale well with farm, in my opinion, unless you get really farmed. It's more about getting levels, and he could... You're right, it's risky for the Shadow Fiend. To me, it comes down to Enchantress entirely. This whole game is on art style.
I was going to say, what if Enchantress is going to be in the opponent jungle like we were expecting, and then
She
can
has
have
to do
someone
that.
to help out on the Shadow Fiend? That could provide a little bit of extra vision and kind of keep the Shadow Fiend moving all over the place. And if you can effectively zone the Shadow Fiend to one side with, maybe she gets fortunate and gets like a Harpy or something like that, then it could fall right into the hook of someone like this Pudge.
I don't think
That's
it's
true. If they
that-
get a Harpy, Shadow Fiend actually loses this lane horribly.
That's true. I mean, Denny uses a lot of smokes even if he's behind. He uses like 3 smokes at level 7 and gets a lot of kills. So I don't think it's that big of a deal if Shadowfiend gets that much free farm in mid. I think
Producer's letting us know that Enchantress's starting armor is actually 0.66.
Thank you.
So it's a
That's
0
pretty low.
if you round it, I guess.
Generally, to say though, it's a scary factor. You have an SF against a Pudge, and if the Pudge gets into your head, that's very scary for you. And it's Denny. Like you can't take that out of this situation at all.
Yeah, the mental aspect is really important whenever you're playing against Pudge. That he's one of those heroes that just changes the game with you can't trust your usual movement patterns and the way you read the map with the vision you have. So that is definitely true. However, one weakness against of Pudge in this game compared to a lot of other games, Pudge is generally a pretty good anti-carry where you hook the carry and kill him. He can't kill PL. Doppelganger is fast enough to get away every single time you get hooked. So Navi will have to find another way of locking down the PL. And honestly, looking at the heroes, they don't really have anything.
They do not. I mean, Gyrocopter is a decent answer against the PL.
Damage-wise, yes.
Yeah, and in the mid-late game. But the way Navi is structuring their kind of draft, you have a Broodmother is going to pressure early. You have an Enchantress that's supposed to be pressured. Then you have a Night Stalker. First Night is going to be very important here on the side of Navi. As you know, and the roaming duo of Eng, Night Stalker during the first night, how much can they get done? If the Shadow Fiend gets early power trades, I think it's going to be a lot harder for the Pudge. But it really comes down to that, how effective those ganks are going to be.
Looks like Artstyle was planning on heading into the 4 Anchors territory to try to do a bit of that aggressive jungling that we were expecting, but look who's already there to welcome her. Boogie's already on the scene. So with that, Merlini, Hani, it was a pleasure having you on the panel. We'll be seeing you at probably the conclusion of the series. Actually, it's playoff time if you'd like. We would be happy to have you after each game so we can go through the rest of the draft and we can talk a bit about each game as they do go. So with that said, it will leave me over with myself, and Cinderin. Pleasure to be by your side once again, my man.
Yeah, this is the first time we cast together just as a duo. Our first cast ever was like a week and a half ago at the summit, where we had a little bit of a couch cast with me, you, and I believe Suns fan.
That's
it
correct.
was. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this, man. It's looking to be a really good game, as well as Enchantress art style's already in trouble.
They had plenty of time to think about this one. They lay out an early disruption. Man, look at the damage already come out. They can get one more. How goosh! They don't get
dead.
the blast, but there it is. There's going to be the attack. Ooh. 4 Anchors going to be leading in with the first blood. How effective is that going to be on the game? Is that, I wouldn't say it's going to be devastating for Navi whatsoever, but now Artstyle has to do that long trip back. Does he now decide to second guess going to the other side of the globe, stick with his own jungle at this point?
I think this is huge because this was the whole momentum-based idea that Navi had from level 1, was that the Enchantress was going to go down and put a lot of pressure. It has now forced Navi to change their plan. They're TPing Night Stalkers at top. Enchantress has to play her own jungle. However, this also means that Brood gets a better matchup. They've swapped around, so Brood is bottom and Hvost is top on the Gyrocopter against Axe. This Axe is going to struggle a lot. And now it's going to be the whole like cat and mouse lane game where you keep swapping around and try to catch the enemy team off guard by getting the advantage on having the better heroes in the right place at the right time. But for now, I would call this a big deal for FoySC. Enchantress is so momentum-based.
She really is, but look, Boogie trying to be there to slow that roll quite a bit. He is already leeching some of that XP, hanging out nearby. I'm very curious how the bottom lane, though, overall is going to be panning out. Yeah, you don't have to worry too much about that Enchantress being that threat on the side, but in this lane, Coddle, does he really offer a whole lot? Just maybe puts down some sentries to help out a bit. And as that happens, though, there's going to be the rock throw. Boogie now going to get bullied away from the Navi side, but yeah, it's just like play a couple of wards, but you really can't do much else. You don't want to be blasting the lane, then you're taking farm away from PL. I feel like this Broodmother is going to be able to get plenty of XP and just start to get that level 3 in Soul Ring pretty damn fast.
And she is going to beat this lane ultimately. I think when Brood is level 5, PL is going to struggle a hell of a lot down here. I mean, you can keep giving him mana with Coddle, but you can't keep giving him health.
There we go. Trixie might be in trouble. That early stun, the Shockwave, not going to be doing a whole lot. But he's able to walk on out. There's going to be the disruption regardless, as Boogie does interject, but no blood going to be shed from either side. Just a bit of a threat, but you can see it's more space for Hvost to kind of do as he pleases here. Trixie is going to continue to have to kind of wait on back.
I'm looking to see if Artstyle has any plan with this first smoke. His Mud Golem is going to split in a moment, the first one, and then he has a minute with 2 of those Hurl Boulder abilities on it. It's going to come up right now. So now he actually has 3 boulders, and he's going to smoke, but... Wait, is this just an observer bug? It has to be, right?
He did smoke right on the creeps, but...
Oh, well, now his smoke broke anyway. It looked like only his hero was smoked to me. I don't know. That must be just a spectator bug.
Yeah, at least from our point of view.
Oh,
it looked
Funnick!
Like what's happening here? Funnick going to get caught out and taken down with the Spirit Lance. He had been constantly pressured back a bit. That was not what I was expecting to go down in this lane. Oh, interesting stuff. And if you see Dendi actually almost already level 5, so that hook getting leveled up now. He's going to have the range to work with. He's going to put the 3rd point into it here. I don't even know if he's gone for an attempt yet. He has lost quite a bit of mana, so I'm sure he's had a couple of swings, but they seem to have been all misses up to this point.
Funnick is going to port back to the bottom lane after, of course, getting killed off, and he's going to be greeted by a Lance and an Illuminate right away, down to half health.
Oh, but
Trixie.
Here we go. Yeah, they get the pull back. They get the catch on the Shadow Fiend here. The Rot's on out, and they're going to get the kill. Trixie was there to help out, but you could say the same for the other side. So Nico is there to welcome him, and right into the nighttime, it's going to be Na'Vi picking up their first kill.
Nice rotation there for the top rune. Of course, Night Stalker with that timing window, catching level 3. He got a haste anyway, so I guess it didn't matter all that much. But Artstyle making use of the Mud Golem. He's going to finally get level 2. So, see, this is what happens. If your first rotation into the enemy jungle does not work and you get counter-jungled afterwards, he is pretty much behind par. So it was very important for them to get that 1 kill and get him a little bit on the board. Dendi being involved got him almost level 6, so now we're going to see what Hani was talking about. The solo kill potential for Shadow Fiend, very easy when you hit level 6 and get the Dismember up. And Dendi will be buying boots now as well, so having a speed advantage.
Comes in from the north, lays out the early disruption. They followed up with 1 raise. Get some poison damage there, but it's not going to be enough to nearly bring down Dendi. Here comes Soniko and company using that Knight. They're going to consider charging on forward, but no, just a little too far and away. Hook, it's going to be coming up short. Maybe if it was level 4, it could have been relatively close, but it will be a swing and a miss nonetheless. So good rotations to mid lane, but you know, Na'Vi have to commit for something where they get nothing out of it.
Yeah. How is Trixie doing? So he didn't die in the gank top when Shadow Demon protected him. He's now level 4 minute 5.5, and Brutus level 5.5. So there's a level advantage for Funnick now that the lanes have been shuffled up a little bit, and I still think Trixie will be fine down here, but he needs to be very careful until he has his Tranquils, and Funnick is controlling him very well. Enchantress is, of course, missing, so I think Trixie concerned about that. Now he is going to be confirming that Enchantress is indeed inside the Radiant jungle at this point, and they're playing it slow and steady, but when you look at a lineup like Navi's that are really looking to create chaos in the early game, I feel like they haven't really managed yet.
No, certainly not. And pretty much this has become Navi's jungle now. So we'll see. Oh, Shadow Demon might be a little too far out, but lucky enough for him, it's an Invis rune. Could have been a lot of trouble as Dendi was looking to sweep on through as well. But because of it, he's going to get denied that rune. Top lane, a little bit of harassment here. Na'Vi, can they get on the bad end of this Matamba Man PL? No, he's going to be able to step back here. Went with the early power treads. Is this the kind of a game, Cinderin, where you want to be going rush right for the Diffusal Blade on your PL so you can take advantage of, you know, getting on top of someone like the Pudge so he can't really achieve a whole lot? Or do you kind of step off, make sure you get a bit more durability? We've seen other PLs pick up, you know, maybe a Drums first, maybe a good old reliable Yasha. Anything in particular standing out to you as far as where this PL needs to go in this particular game?
I think Manta first is really good in this game. So he can Manta out of the Night Stalker silence. He can just farm more effectively and split push a lot better, which is something Na'Vi would like to not happen. They have split push themselves with the Brood, but their other heroes apart from Gyro really don't deal well with the PL illusions. So if he can get up to that and start farming their jungle and especially push their lane, that would be great. I think if they feel forced to fight, he should get the Diffusal. But if they can get away with it, like if the game stays in this pace, probably the Manta is fine. As Soniko, he went in way too far.
He wanted to make a committed dive. They thought they were going to get something after that blast, but unfortunately they're only welcome with the call down from Havost. And with that, he's end up, well, it's a good grab for them. They push ahead now 3-1. We see that Shadow Fiend's pretty much getting the most out of all 3 lanes. He'll grab up his power treads here. Yet to see Dendi be able to get something. He's swinging around for it. Will he get the grab? He will. Right behind. It looks like the hitbox a bit big, but now he's going to follow up with the Dismember. Will he be able to finish him off? It's going to be easy peasy. Didn't even need Soniko to really help out in there, but hey, 3 XP for Soniko and some XP. Oh, you think you... Okay, well, hold on. Now they move on in. There's going to be disruption. Oh, he can't get away. Hook not going to be catching here. Blast will be able to hit him on the back inside. Will they finish him off? Battle Hunger will. And they're going to get that kill.
Yeah, so if the Night Stalker doesn't port and void there, I think Shadow Demon catches up and actually disrupts Dendy. So they did need him, but unfortunately for them, Soniko, once again, over-aggressive a little bit. He made the mistake in the top lane before. He's making the mistake in the mid lane this time, as we do get to see the replay here. And the stat, by the way, that we didn't talk about. Dendy 26-9 on Pudge. Ridiculous win rate. That's actually insane.
Yeah.
So we're going to see here. He's going to dismember Nymphy. Okay, never mind. All right, production.
Action could have been breaking out, so yeah, fault. But I also did notice, you were right, the Shadow Demon was right there almost as the safety net for Shadow Fiend in case something like that happens, but it was a very long pull, and because that Night Stalker was able to rotate in, they get the finishing blow. But Dendy now smoked up on the prowl. Oh, he's going to run right into Boogie here, but there is a quick disruption. Phonics right there, but he's going to be able to make it back to safety. Will the hook be there? Oh, it will not. Just behind. Dendy not going to be able to catch that one.
Very close. Phonic claims the bottom tower while having his hero elsewhere. Pretty much next to Dendy here in the jungle. So the Spiderlings taking care of that. Phonic will be getting a very, well, not a very fast Midas, but a fast Midas by the looks of it, as Kvos taking tons of damage here. I don't know if they can chase him down, though.
Yeah, nice
good Centaur stop.
Blast. 4Anchor's really doing good work here in the top lane, but yeah, on the other side, Phonic is almost doing as he pleases, as this Broodmother is just kind of claimed this whole jungle. This is my nest now. Accept that. And, well, with that tower down the bottom, removes that access point from 4Anchors here. So if Trixie is caught out too far forward, he really is not going to be able to get much help here. And it looks like Dendy looking to come on in. If he gets the vision, he could dismember. But no, he anticipates that he's going to be up to the north, goes for the blind hook, but is not going to be able to get anything there. So, well, lucky there for Trixie to me that Dendy didn't happen to go south instead.
How many smokes have Na'Vi used? They've used all 3? Oh, boy. That's pretty bad news, honestly. I don't know. Is there one on the... No. They're out of smokes for a good 3 minutes, and then they'll have 1, and then they need to wait another 12. So they've used 3 smokes, they've found 2 kills. And this is a big part of Dendy's success on Pudge in general, is that he really puts smokes to good use. Not the case this game.
No, certainly not. Phonic creeping on in. They're looking to play very aggressive with the lineup they got here. And now, look at this, charging on forward, Dendy runs right in, gets the easy bite, gets the kill. It's actually going to be Phonic who picks up the last hit on that one, and he's going to take this momentum right towards the mid lane, knowing he has the haste. Ooh, a hook, again, coming up just a little bit short.
That was very close on the hook. That was like 100 range, I think.
Would not have had the bite as a follow-up, but, you know, with the rot and, of course, the haste.
Yeah, he would have definitely killed the Shadow Demon there.
Without a doubt.
I think there's a counterplay. What's happening, Mino? I'm hearing a call down. Oh, it's just the jungle, right? Yeah, so he's going to clear out some stacks here. Vost, what's his item build going to be? He has Phase and Bracer, so looking for a drum. And the Midas now comes out for Phonic.
Some early stackage. You see the, Midas now done here. Is this going to be one of those kind of Necrobook games? Getting up an early Orchid could be a bit devastating to the PL, unless, you know, PL does manage to throw together that Manta, but can be very nicely utilized. Someone like Coddle will need to watch out. Already he's trying to keep his weight away, but look at this. He was able to get the snag, it looks like, and they take Trixie down again. This Axe is being punished over and over again. His jungle had been taken away. He had to rotate lanes. This seems to be quite the struggle for Trixie.
Yeah, they're really shutting down that jungle nicely. The question is if 4ASC should be trying to contest it and get it back, or if Trixie should just play in the enemy jungle. He's willingly going into his own jungle all the time when it's under control, and that obviously means, well, if the Pudge and the Brood are hanging out down there, he could probably look to farm the camps in the top. And maybe he will now that this tier 1 is gone.
And Chantress
it opens
has
up
been
an
there,
access
though.
path.
Chantress continues to kind of hang around that Na'Vi jungle, so if
She can't really kill an X, though.
I know,
but yeah, if there's a rotation.
they would be able to scout him out, know exactly what's going on, and one quick rotation or a running in Pudge.
Oh, so Nico, natural nighttime kicks in.
Yep. Good for them. Feels like Na'Vi have a good momentum this game, even though the kill score is only 4-4. But at the same moment, PL finding a lot of farm for himself. Back on bottom lane, there's going to be the call down Trixie. Able to sidestep it here, but the flat end hitting a bit. Oh, big rocket barrage does some serious work, but he is able to get off the call. So getting that extra bit of an armor boost helps out. Looks like the rotation TP will be canceled as they deem it not worthy here. But here comes Dendy creeping on in. Suddenly a boogie appears. They drop a ward, but immediately a sentry thereafter, and now it's Dendy who might be in trouble. PL trying to block him maybe out on the front, gets the block, tries to go instead for the TP, but it's going to get canceled from the disruption. Look at them time out the blast as the follow-up, and they'll get the kill. Dendy, being a bit too adventurous there, runs into trouble and will go down.
I think that is the fastest counter ward in history. He actually, he had no idea. He didn't even see Dendy yet when he planted it. They just planted them simultaneously, and that's That really sucks for Dendi. He had a killing spree that goes the way of the Coddle. He gets counter-warded immediately, and of course, Dendi would love to play this nighttime with Vision. It's when he has the most ganking potential.
Let's see how fast it was.
Warding replay.
That game sense. Boom, bang, 50 gold, easy.
See, oh wait, he just. Oh, really?
It was a great block though too, as well.
This is a very good
right
doppelganger play by Matumba.
Yep. And an Adventurous kind of a TP, but obviously going to be canceled disruption. So Nico knows there's nothing he can really do about it. They had 4 participating for that kill too, so a lot of attention towards that top lane. And look at this, after Funnick claims that tier 1 bottom lane and a good portion of the jungle, he's actually going to take himself to the top lane now. So Na'Vi moving around quite a bit. I imagine Dendi's still going to continue to try to be all over the place, create that bit of space, so it's going to be Havos who really problems a lot. But we'll see here. It looks like they want to press down this mid lane and go for the tier 1.
Yeah, pushing into Coddle Shadow Demon is a nightmare, though. This is just so good wave clear. This is just not going to happen. I mean, they will give up on it. At least they force a little bit of a rotation from the supports to stand defensively, and of course Funnick is just free farming top meanwhile, but kind of so is Shadow Fiend. So I want to say even all in all. Now, the question is, so PL went for a Morbid Mask. I'm not sure what the build-up is from Matumba, if he wants to go for the Mask of Madness this game, or Vlad's, or neither, just wants to have Morbid Mask. It does, of course, up his farming speed quite a bit going for the Madness. I think Yasha is just as good on PL, if not better, though, just because of the strength of your illusions you actually get when you carry that around.
That's what
or
I heard.
Is there Helm of the Dominator build-up that makes any sense?
Not that I know
I
of.
don't think so.
When I heard from...
Hani thinks it's Vlad's.
Thinks it's Vlad's. Oh, yeah, that is true.
AoE armor against Gyro is good. It allows him to farm the jungle without taking damage, but PL doesn't really need that since illusions can just tank. But,
I believe it was a certain Banana Slam jam I know during the Red Bull Battlegrounds that when he plays PL, which he does like to play frequently, has occasionally from time to time gone for Mask of Madness. Not his most optimal build, but he feels like it is a farming accelerator. But I'm with you. I feel like Vlad's could benefit a lot, but here we go. They're going to look to move in. Disruption's going to be there. Timing it out with the Requiem. Denny's in a bit of trouble, trying to go yet again on another Pudge adventure, but he's going to be coming up short, instead handing over a kill. This time it's going to be to the Shadow Fiend. Top lane, though. At that same moment, they're making it go to Matuma, man. They're going to be able to bring him down, but here comes Trixie. Gets up a nice call onto 2, but they're not going to be able to finish anyone off, it looks like. They're going to charge on forward. They got the poison. They got the battle hunger. Is it enough to wither down the Sonika? Well, meanwhile, you're going to see Funnick zoning back the Shadow Demon here. Trixie looking to finish what he started. It looks like he is going to be able to get it. But look at that. Oh, Boogie so close to going down. Into the blast. They get him right on the back end of it. Oh, blinding light trying to get him back and closer to the laning setup. But Funnick will withstand. Ends up being a 2-for-1 trade, but 4Anchors do lose their PL.
That's a key kill. And Broodmother getting it isn't bad either. That just means Funnick will take over the CS or the net worth lead, I believe. Yes, he is 600 ahead of the Shadow Fiend. Of course, the Midas build-up helping him out quite a bit, and Brood is a hero that kind of needs to play from ahead in order to, at least if you want to play it carry style. I guess we'll get a hint as to whether that's Funnick's plan soon. If he's playing fighting style, the problem is he's a melee core, and playing melee cores against Shadow Demon Axe sucks. There's Call, there's Demonic Purge, and you really don't get to do much. So I actually think, well, it looks like it is going to be a BKB. I'm not sure that's the best build here, to be honest, because as mentioned, they're just going to be able to control him nicely. I would have loved to see a book, as you mentioned. I think that would have been a great pickup. Just play more of a split push and aggressive role in that sense. But
Seems like it's more of a fighting spike.
good centaur stomp from art style. Well, Dendi could try for this hook on Valix, but I think they're scared of the follow-up as Voss doesn't care at least.
Right into a rocket barrage. The call that's going to be there. Matomaman's going to eat it. Oh, the snag is going to be catching onto Trixie, a big meaty target, but because of that isolation, they do quickly bring him down. Now it's Na'Vi charging on forward, looking here if they can get Matuma-Man. They're dropping down the sentries to see if they can finish him off. He gets a good distance, Doppelganger, to step away from the harassment, and it looks like they're going to get close enough to the tower that Na'Vi are going to second guess before overcommitting, but what a beautiful hook from the north side. They're going to get the grab. Nemphy in big trouble here, and he is going to end up going down. Good snag from Funnick, catching him out with that nuke. Ends up being a 2-man drop. Na'Vi lose no one for this. And this is exactly what they needed. Seemed a bit wishy-washy for Na'Vi up to that point. We saw 2-3 different times where Dending was trying to kind of dive on forward, looking for his own bit of a pick, and ended up getting taken down himself. But this time, it turns out very well.
Yeah, this is the opening. So we see the call down here from Voss, not really catching that much. This hook is what's important. Trixie walking in and taking that. I don't think that was the intention.
No.
Ideally, if you get anyone hooked, it's the PL, or you just let PL just look at the hook, and then you you doppelganger right when it's about to hit you. But instead, losing X right at the start of the fight gives Na'Vi a big advantage. Great Illuminate here is not going to be enough. And Na'Vi, the hook from Dendi from above here, they had no idea he moved up here. Using the homing missile is set up very nicely.
Exactly. That was just almost too convenient right there because of it. And he thinks he's almost going to get away, but that was one of the longest range-looking Broodmother nukes I've ever seen. And because of it, they get that precious Shadow Fiend down. So a big grab for them. You now see both Funnick and Havos taking over the top of the net worth here. And it's just looking like a really good pace for them. And I imagine it's getting pretty dang close to that nighttime here. We'll see if they're going to decide to get pretty dang aggressive. We look over to Trixie. He decided to go with that Vanguard first. You know, trying to build together. He's getting pretty close to his Blink Dagger here. Oh. Could you imagine being in his position? You see that coming your way, and it's like, please, please, no! And he's able to make it out. If he was to go down there, it would have put him off even longer from that Blink Dagger. And, oh, what was that? Just intuition just happens to backstep it away from the hook. Oh, very unfortunate for Dendi to not catch that one.
And that was a smoke. So that's Navi's last smoke for the next 6 minutes. Want to mention that Hvos didn't finish the drum, by the way. He went for Bracer and now going into Sanj and Yasha for his mid-game build-up here. Should be able to finish it off at about minute 20, which is a decent timing for an SNY. Not the best, not the worst, just pretty good. And what else are we looking at for Na'Vi? The Pudge, 2.1k gold on Dendi. I think I guess it's Blink. I mean, if he was contemplating whether it's Blink or Force, you generally make your decision when you're like, okay, now I have 1,000 gold. If I want my Force, I start buying it up just to not lose gold in case I die. And yeah, that is definitely going to help them a lot. It's going to make it way easier for him to catch, especially the Axe, who seems to have been the priority target so far. And even especially when Axe gets the Blink, if you can get the jump, you secure that there's no counter-initiate to your team fight when you engage.
Yeah, whether it's a blinking quick rot to prevent something like a blink coming up from the Axe, just an instant dismember to guarantee the lockdown, or of course increasing that precious range of the hook. It's all wonderful. So notice that the Coddle, no early investment into the Mana Leak whatsoever, went with the 4-0-4 build-up. He is getting pretty dang close, though, to an Agnum Scepter. Going a bit greedy in this game, but I guess it's not too hard to farm up on a Coddle as long as you find that opportunity to get that kind of a farm. But really, how effective is the Coddle Agnum's going to be in this game with that darkness coming out from the Night Stalker? Night Stalker nowhere near his Agnums. I don't even think he's gotten one component towards it yet.
No, he went for the Midas, so Saniko is looking to get an impact in the mid-late game. I think it's the right choice as well. With how the early game went, he needs a way to become relevant later on, especially considering both Enchantress and Pudge generally fall off. Of course, Enchantress, now that Impetus does hit through BKB, can be more relevant, but it's still not the best mid-late gamer as a support. And you even have a Pudge as a core who also doesn't scale that well. So now we need to compensate. They are going to get Roshan here by the looks of it, so that is definitely going to help them quite a bit. Maybe look to siege a tower with this Aegis. They've only claimed one tower minute 21 with an Enchantress Brood lineup. That's a rare sight.
Yeah,
as far as he got two.
One thing I was going to ask is just based on the lineups on paper here, is it more for Na'Vi to try to get a lot done and kind of get this game to a close? Earlier, when you look over at 4 Anchors, they got both the benefit of a PL plus the Shadow Fiend. I feel like they could be a big problem into the later portion of this game. So just based on the aggression that's been coming up from Na'Vi, is it that kind of pressure because they don't want to risk taking this game too long? They have yet to kind of take as many objectives as you would suspect, like you were saying.
I don't know, actually. I feel like if Na'Vi just flat out play for late game with these Midases, they're probably just going to get overpowered in the late game. Axe is such a good late gamer, like you said, both Shadowfiend and PL. Sure, they're behind the Brood and Gyro and Farm, but I feel like just Brood, even if Brood is ahead by, let's say most heroes are 20k net worth in the game and Brood is 25, it still doesn't seem to have the same impact as other cores. So game plan-wise, I think 4ASC are happy with how it's going now. And let's not forget the wild card, Keeper of the Light. Late game, Blinding Light is an absolute godlike ability with very low cooldown, and of course the miss chance is absolutely huge. He's gonna speaking of him, he is gonna get absolutely eaten by Dendi. Yes.
Yeah, I
got
mean,
the Mana Leak off, though. This should be a stun. They might be able to get him. No, they purged the Night Stalker instead, and Funnick comes in.
There he goes, the big golden spider looking to charge down and chomp away at Trixie here. Obviously no kill opportunity going to be there. Oh, they try to dish out the dust, but it looks like it is going to be coming up a bit short. Funnick's going to make his way over the mountain and out from trouble. But Yeah, I have to agree, because the other thing that could be very nice for Four Anchors is even if they do, start losing their towers, they're restricted inside their base. I feel like they have pretty solid high ground defense, and Na'Vi maybe not so good sieging capability to go up into the high ground. You're going into a Coddle Blast. You risk getting jumped on from the axe and the back lines with Spiderlings all out there. Uh-oh, nice setup. Lincoln hook. They're going to get the quick snag on a Shadow Demon here, so Nika getting a bit of damage with Trixie. Jumping in from behind here, but he's eating a wealth of damage coming out from Havost. He's going to go down. Timed Requiem, though, on the return. Can they follow it up? Big blast from Coddle. They're going to get Havost down, but that's just his Aegis. Now Four Anchors need to disperse. Or do they? Matama Man comes on forward, dishes out the Spirit Lance. Blinding Light actually pushes him a little further away. Tried to step in for a Mana Leak, I suppose, but you get the hell off my lawn. And it will step them back. But it's going to be difficult, I feel, to kind of break the tough shell of the Four Anchors baseline. So Na'Vi need to count on making sure they either get picks, if Dendi has to go fishing to kind of set up one of those picks, and then they can kind of maybe advance on forward with just an advantage in numbers.
I definitely agree. The high ground siege is going to be the tricky part for Na'Vi, no matter how this goes in the next 5 to 10 minutes. Even if they try for a 4-1 where Brood pushes one lane and they have 4 in the other lane, there are multiple heroes that stand well against the Brood Spiderlings. Both the Axe can deal with them, the Shadowfiend can deal with them, and the Coddle. So you have multiple ways of moving around and setting up for your fight the way you desire, as Trixie bottom lane looking for Brood does not find him. Finds a couple of Spiderlings, not what he was looking for.
Funnick just, hey, watch your step there. They're looking for it, even in a blind grab. But, oh, Dendi, they get the jump in. Guaranteed bite is going to be there, followed with the nuke, but the mech was there from the Shadow Fiend. Now they're going to dish out the raises. Are they going to be able to bring down Dendi? They will. The disruption to fly out, a self-disruption. Can they still finish him off? They can, but it's still a better trade for Four Anchors. It would be so much better if they could get this pesky Funnick Broodmother. Can they grab it? They certainly can.
Coddle got the kill. That's Ags.
It is an Ags, and I could tell you firsthand, when you get an Ags, it's like he becomes a whole new hero at that point. Guaranteed to always have that blinding light up and at the ready. You get that taxi service, constant recall, so that means if you're trying to make an advancement on forward and you're like, oh, I'm very, low on mana and HP, an easy TP back to the base and bring back into the battlefield guarantees that your cores can farm on those side lanes and they can always be there when a fight does break out. It's a huge grab, and obviously he can safely put out those Illuminates without risking his own.
Now, there's
body.
actually one thing we haven't talked about in this game. I was about to say this is a really good time to get the Axe because daytime just started, but guess who's on the other side?
Night Stalker.
So whenever Na'Vi want to take a team fight, they need to have either natural nighttime or darkness ready. Then Coddle can never benefit from the heal of his Illuminate, which is a huge part of the Aghanim Scepter upgrade. It is a 500 heal if it's channeled fully to everyone. It's basically a double mech apart from the armor on a 10-second cooldown, which is absolutely ridiculous, but might not be able to use it in this game, Valix. So perhaps he needs to either, I don't know, do they have a mech on their team? They have it on Shadowfiend, obviously, what am I talking about? But
yeah.
What do you do as Keeper of the Light here? You can't rely on the heal. You're probably going to focus a lot more on, you obviously use the Illuminate probably just aggressively in that case. Instead of focusing on the split heal and damage, you just think of it as a damage ability still, and then a lot more emphasis on casting Blinding Light properly. And it's going to be, when it comes up to level 3, his ultimate, that's going to be a 12-second cooldown Blinding Light. You can cut 4 additional seconds off that with Chakra. Yeah. And then you can almost overlap the blinds. It lasts 6 seconds on an 8-second cooldown in that case. It's an absolutely incredible team fight ability.
It really is, and it's something I feel a lot of teams can't underestimate is how effective that blinding light can be. And you're right. Darkness is going to take away his capability to dish out that ridiculous amount of heal
and the map control as well.
And the map control, that huge, unobstructed vision he gets, which is so effective when you're working, like, let's say, around the Roche pit and you're trying to get that upper hand advantage. Luckily, though, it doesn't, just remove his spirit form. He still has access to that blinding light, to that kind of recall capability. So you still get a lot out of it, but yeah, certainly as the game goes on, he is not going to be able to get the full benefit of that Aghanim. So we'll have to see where he decides to build on top of that from here on out.
Funnick will be buying a Maelstrom. I have this feeling that he does really not want to buy this item, but they need a solution to PL in addition to Gyro. We're going to reach a position in this game where if Gyro gets jumped on in a team fight, Na'Vi actually have a 0% chance of winning a team fight if they don't have anything else against him. But Funnick might live here.
He's getting locked in place,
Just kidding.
though. Yeah.
Oh, got a heal off.
Okay. No, that took a lot more sweat than they were anticipating. But yeah, good snag there from Denny. Gets the pullback onto Trixie. They're going to be able to finish him off. And now that everything has been expended for that Funnick kill, it's going to be Na'Vi who press on forward and take advantage of what Four Anchors don't have for this second winded fight. And because of it, they're going to get the snag. And that means it's a 2-for-1 trade. They do lose their Brood, but they get Trixie down in exchange with an additional little support. Good grab.
Meanwhile, Matumba is split pushing top, and we're of course going to start seeing 4AFC making more use of recall and just trying to move this PL around the map and be super annoying.
He's keeping the Morbid Mask as just a reliable bit of leech, and now he's stepping forward for the ulti orb. So Scotty, I imagine, is going to be the stats.
Do you think it's
Meaty build-up.
Scotty? I think Manta is still worth it, honestly. I still think that's the best choice. I've seen other PLs go for just Diffusal into Scotty. It just, there's too much merit for me in Mantis down this year, and I generally find myself disagreeing with players that don't get it at all in PL or don't get it as like the first or second core item. It is just absolutely incredible with his kit.
So maybe he just needs the extra bit of life and holds the reliable ulti orb instead of just stepping up first for the Yasha instead.
I think so.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough.
We'll see soon, yeah.
Yeah, the Manta, as you were talking about before, does benefit a lot in this kind of game when you got that Night Stalker Silence coming out and all the slows they already dished on that kind of a team. Could help mitigate the rocket barrage damage. There's a lot of little things there. So
yeah, the alternative way of looking at it is, well, what's my biggest opponent? Gyro. How do I counter Gyro? I get armor and health. And then Scotty is a better choice than the Manta, which is good for split pushing as we talked about and for disjoining, but doesn't really give you much bang for your buck as far as tankiness goes. So if he is strictly looking to counter Gyro, I think Scotty is the best item. But there are other enemies in the game than just him.
Is there? Yeah, of course there is. So with that, the Agnum stick now coming out for Night Stalker, and this is, you know, obviously going to be Coddle's worst nightmare. I do remember, if I do remember correctly, and it could have been 4 Anchors, I believe there was a game where they ran a Coddle against a Night Stalker, and it didn't turn out too well. Now, not to say that was the lone factor, but we'll have to see if we're going to get a bit of a repeat of past history here. But I feel like this PL continues to get a lot of farm across the map. But I say that, and I look at the actual network chart, and maybe it's the fact that he isn't able to participate in as many kills as someone like Havos has been able to, but he's still falling behind as far as the other cores on the other side are. So
yeah, Na'Vi just seem to be getting more gold per minute. There's got to be an MKB coming out on Frost right now. They're 10,000 experience ahead as well. And I want to say a really big part of it is just even though they're not there, just the threat is really giving them an advantage. Just the map control they have innately from having Brood and Pudge makes it very difficult for the Radiant side to move out on the map and claim the farm they want. And speaking of map control, they're looking to get a free Roshan as well as looks like 4AC have no interest in even trying to go look there right now. Or maybe they do. Trixie? No, that's not the path he's taking. They're recalling the PL, I think. Nope. Who did they recall?
looks like maybe Shadow Fiend.
No one? Yeah, Shadow Fiend, okay.
Was brought in, but immediately blinked back. They're going to still get that Aegis nonetheless. The gem now going to be picked up from the Night Stalker, so he's going to be the one with that huge...
Oh, nice body block here from Artstyle with the creep.
Does we got the blinding light to kind of get the hell out of the way so he can walk on out. Na'Vi looking to sweep on through here, but they need this. They're going to be they need this kind of huge economy boost on their side, especially if they have to break through that high ground defense that we were already talking about before. But still even a tier 1 mid lane for them to take, so clearly still even more gold out there for them to kind of snag up.
Yeah, Quost will be claiming it. He's going to put Glyph off cooldown again, so pushing the tier 2 should become pretty difficult. Keeper of the Light with, of course, the Illuminate and Shadow Poison. And you need to remember, while all this is happening, Matumba is farming. So the reason Na'Vi have been gaining is that they've just been split pushing and split farming as well as getting objectives. Now they're starting to commit their heroes into one spot. And that's where economy becomes crucial. We're going to see the Glyph used. Illuminate clipping, but not hitting all of the creeps. And now Dendy's has caught on to the fact that, he's going to hook a ball.
They actually disrupt him on the way back.
Oh,
He
nice
puts him to the low ground with the blinding light. So this fight going to be split right down the middle. Both Soniko and Dendy caught on the low ground here, but the high ground allows them to kind of finish up what they started on the Coddle. And it looks like 4 Anchors are not going to be able to do anything with what's been bumped to the low ground. So with that, Na'Vi should be able to sweep on forward. If they get this tower, that's 2 towers back-to-back, plus the Coddle takedown. This is just so much money coming their way, going in their pockets. And this is going to be a very difficult time for 4 Anchors. If they're going to be shoveled back into their base, they're going to be very scared as far as moving out there and finding farm on anyone outside of this PL. And they're just going to be in the dark because of this Night Stalker.
Yeah, Na'Vi don't look to go back here. They have darkness when daytime kicks in about 5 or 6 seconds here. So Nico will just be using that. Blink in from Trixie and a call. Quost has the Aegis, however.
Seeing a lot of damage
Trying
from
to
the
force it
tower
out.
and everything.
It's the darkness. And they might just pull back here. They got the tower they came for. They got a bonus kill. They did also lose their top tier 2, however, to PL split push. Was claimed by the Radiant.
That was a quick disruption reaction
Matumba
right
has
there.
the Manta. Yeah, if he would have timed it a little bit better, the hook wouldn't even have happened, but...
Unfortunately, it did, and because of it,
It's difficult.
Yeah. Enchantress and your Gyrocopter easily get a hold of this little coddle, and they can't do anything about Denny and Sonico on the low ground. So they're able to kind of get the kill, follow it up, get the tier 2, try to poke a bit into the base of 4 anchors here. So it looks like it's going to be a rough time for 4 anchors here unless they can get this PL. I mean, how much pressure do you feel like this PL, like the weight on his back to try to pull this one on forward? You still also, of course, have the Shadow Fiend, but not very much as far as the damage goes. I mean, he went with the Blink, the Mech, the BKB, very defensive kind of build-up with a little bit of mobility, but the right click, he's only, you know, hoping for just the Necromastery.
How much weight is on PL's shoulders? Quite a lot right now, to be honest. He did go for the Manta build into Diffusal too, so he's definitely, as far as fighting potential goes, if the Flak Cannon is down, he can deal. So we'll definitely be able to, like, I still feel like the gold is a little bit deceptive when it comes to an actual team fight where even the 10k deficit and 12k deficit on XP all comes down to whether Ghost gets to play his hero well in the fight, gets to get maximum impact out of the Flak Cannon. And as you mentioned, Shadow Fiend not really the farmiest or the most dangerous of build, rather, for Na'Vi to deal with as far as damage goes, but that is definitely where he's headed next. I think we're going to see probably a Daedalus out of Nymphy or maybe a Butterfly, although there's already that MKB out on Gyro, so probably, yeah. I don't know if Butterfly is worth it this game. MKB is such a good item against the Radiant lineup. 2 natural Butterfly carriers and Shadow Fiend and PL, and of course the Blinding Light.
Yep.
And Gyro doesn't care. PL going to get spotted. 2 armies against each other. One of them is just waiting.
It does feel like coming into this draft, you know, Na'Vi were prepared. They expected if something like 4 anchors were going to go for something they'd gone for multiple times in the opening of a Coddle PL. It wasn't that much hesitation to follow up with the Night Stalker, and they just anticipated what was to come. And grabbing and itemizing appropriately, like you already talked about, getting something like your MKB renders a lot of the potential for 4 anchors, I don't want to say useless, but it's going to seem like their options become a lot more limited. Funnick did finish out that Mjolnir build up here on your Broodmother. Don't see that a whole lot often, but will help obviously with his own bit of pushing capability. This is just going to be very, very interesting. Na'Vi have not even taken this top tier 1 yet. They're going to be able to grab it, and it looks like they'll just continue to kind of take more map dominance while they can. Yeah, it looks like Dendi, he got the Yules, by the way, and obviously for people who didn't already know, you can get the setup with the Yules. Still means you can hook them out while they're in Yules.
One of the very few abilities that interacts with it. Funnick is going to try to man-fight Matumba. He's going to regret it very quickly. Not quick enough, though.
PL is damn deceptive in that way.
All right, that was not the play for Funnick. Now Na'Vi might actually be a little bit hesitant top because, well, what if they just recall the PL up there and try to take the fight? I think they could have gone away with this tower as just look at how scared for is CR, but no one's going to get anything apart from the PL getting a pretty big kill. That's actually worth a lot of gold when they're behind like this, and that going onto the PL is definitely a problem for Na'Vi. How much does it say? 900 kill gold for that. Does Funnick have a streak, or is that just... I think that what it shows in chat is the actual gain, right? So he gained 900 and Funnick lost.
Let's just see how fast the Spider went down. Tried to man fight here, even with Mjolnir on himself. Doesn't... I mean, yeah, it will trigger a lot with all these illusions swarming you here, but clearly not enough. It was just so much going on. You couldn't even see Funnick amongst the mist of death right there. And I don't think he's going to look to make that kind of mistake twice. You got to make sure you are well and prepared. You were talking about it a bit before with the Manta, and in addition to the Diffusal, he can dish out a big punch. Those are just illusions right there, and they got a good quarter of the life off of even the Havos Gyrocopter.
Gonna recall the PL. Homing Missile is still gonna follow him, so Hwost will gain a little more intel here. You're gonna see Boogie, I think, as he is gonna disjoint that with Doppelganger.
Good snag. Now, what about the effectiveness of Dendi as the game does go later? Does it get to a point where he's pretty much just the one to try to get the fight set up? If he's able to get that one quick pick, his lockdown factor is respectable, but if he's in the middle of a fight trying to dish out, you know, his dismember and locking someone down, if it's not the PL, then he risks putting himself out there to the point where he will be badly beaten. Or is it more of when they're able to get to the base of 4 anchors, you just look for him to try to be the fisherman?
Yeah, I think so. He's going to be the fisherman, and he's going to be an aura carrier. After this BKB, it looks like he's building just so he has some sort of sustainability in the fights against the PL, Shadow Fiend, and of course, all of the magical damage really that comes out of 4 AC. I'm imagining something like a Vlad's AC build could be great on the Pudge. going late game, I like to talk about it. Having AoE armor is really almost an integral part of every single late game lineup that you can get into. And Dendi seems like a natural carrier, because what else would you get on the Pudge? You can get an Axe, and it's great if you get to dismember a key target, but against a PL, it's not really realistic. It could be nice against Axe, to be fair. If he manages to fish out the Axe and eat him, that's huge. That is kind of situational, but could work. Or maybe something like a Hex, just so he's utility for his team as well.
Wow. What about even adding more onto the aura part of that aspect? Shivas, if he's able to get
Yep, that
maybe
could
an
be good
AC, let's say.
Shivas could be good as well.
It would
Definitely.
not be too bad.
Great against PL.
Yeah.
AoE slow from the just the passive part slowing attack speed.
Yeah, works good. PL and even Shadow Fiend there. So with that, Shadow Fiend, he's starting to inch towards that damage department. Gets that Yasha as we see, but gonna need a whole lot more on top of that.
Force Staff on Coddle. Way of dealing with the hook.
Good for burning more mana, let's say. Get on that mana leak. You Blinding Light and Force Staff, and they probably lost a huge chunk of that precious blue bar. And a Satanic.
And now he's definitely sustainable in these fights. Gives a lot of health and, of course, the ability to trigger that. What is it called? Is Unholy Rage? Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think I ever hear anyone call it by that. The Unholy Rage was used!
It's a nice name, though.
It
sounds
pretty,
good.
it's pretty badass.
This is the third Rosh in a row for Na'Vi. We talked about it pregame. Do they like Dire for Roshan? They seem to not pick lineups that are very good at taking Roshan. This one isn't particularly great either. Untouchable is great for tanking him, but damage-wise, not amazing. Still pretty good. And well, they have got the map control the whole game, so we'll be grabbing it again. The cheese this time going on to Brood? Yeah, and Aegis on Gyro. Pudge is a good cheese carrier, though. I wouldn't mind seeing Dendi getting it over Funnick, since he can really benefit a lot from the heal.
Is it in the aspect that he can kind of jump it, throwing himself out there, get off a big bite? He'll eat a bit of damage, but he's able to step away. He could just kind of eat the cheese and re-engage.
He just has a very high health pool, so he can get the full effect out of the 2,500 healing, but Funnick actually has a lot of health, too. He has more than I thought he did. 1,900 sitting on the Broodmother, so he's a good choice as well. We saw it. Well, it's time for Na'Vi to go for the push.
But we'll see. We were
almost got the tower.
Yeah. Is the high ground defense strong enough here with the Shadow Demon continuing dishing out maybe the poison, the Illuminates as we already saw, flying on out. We'll see if Na'Vi are going to be able to kind of crack the 4 Anchors code here and make their way into the base. It's going to be
no pipe on Na'Vi. Very good item against the Coddle when it comes to sieging. Maybe Dendi should have considered that over Yules, actually.
Yep, there's the darkness, right, as daytime does come out. And because of that, they'll get that unobstructed vision. They will be able to easily get the intel seeing over the base wall what 4 Anchors are exactly doing. But they're corralled like sheep at this point, and it's not going to be easy for them to come out. We'll have to see. If Na'Vi do overextend, could be one stepping stone for 4 Anchors to try to run themselves right back into this game. But there we go. There's the jump in. They're going to be able to get the tier 3. He gets the call and force back so he can try to draw Havos deeper inside the base if possible. He gets mana leak, so as he does run out, he loses all that precious mana, and he's going to get finished off. So the Aegis is going to be down. Now the Yules. Oh! They catch Trixie, maybe even bodyguarding that hook right there. He is going to get caught with Dismember, but the Disruption does come out. Big Requiem to fly, but
Havos taking so much
but
damage!
The blast! Ooh, he is very low, but he is on the retreat to step away. They're going to end up bringing down the Enchantress. Looks like Dendi could be going down next. This is Matama Man's time. He charges on 4. Can they finish off? They can get Dendi before he's teeping away. Make it a double kill as they get Funnick, and now they're going to grab Soniko. This is the defense that 4 Anchors asked for. What happened with Havos there at the end? He was eating so much of the damage. He was walking on out. Obviously his Aegis was brought down there with the jump and raise plus the Illuminate, but I wasn't expecting him to get so much. He was punished.
That was the Flak Cannon timing window. I think he had used his Flak Cannon already. It was on cooldown, and there were 3 or 4 PL illusions running him down, and no one from Na'Vi can help him. That's the problem that I talked about earlier, where, well, when Flak Cannon is down, if PL manages to stay healthy throughout all of that and just get one doppelganger off and just send those illusions, or even the Manta illusion to Vost, he is going to have a problem, and he really tanked a hell of a lot there. That's a big hold for 4 Anchors. They get what looks to be 6,000 or 7,000 experience and a couple thousand gold with this tier 2, as well as the split push top from Matumba. Man, he's going to get another big item for the next fight, probably.
I mean, Havos, it was pretty much like a Spirit Lance and just some harassment from Matumum that brought him so low. I love the blink block of the hook coming out from Trixie, and because he got the disruption save, the Dismember didn't even do a whole lot. So at that point, after Pudge commits out his hook and his Dismember, he doesn't really offer a whole lot except walking around and, well, farting all over the places with his rot. So it's kind of easy to just take advantage of him at that point. And, yeah, maybe between the flat cannon timing and Phonic not being able to utilize a whole lot, it got a bit flustered for him. Havos was forced to retreat as he was just already so badly beaten, and that turned out very, very nice for 4 Anchors.
Havos, speaking of him, he grabs his next item, the Satanic. Now, what's scary about playing against illusion-based carries with Satanic is that you can't lifesteal off of illusions. So if he pops Satanic and he doesn't find the right target when he does that, it's actually going to be useless. So he needs to be very careful, either knowing where the right PL is and knowing that he doesn't have Doppelganger ready, because then he basically wastes the duration of the Unholy Rage, or simply just having another target to hit. And it is a great, and it is a core item on Gyro in general, but he needs it. He really does need it, but it's difficult to play.
Oh, I like
Also
that.
can't leech off the Manta Illus of Shadow Fiend either. So he can, if he gets confused in the fight, that item's not going to be worth so much.
We'll see. Ooh,
Art
jump
style,
in.
that is not a raise.
No,
That's
it's not,
a raise.
but those are raises right there. So he ends up getting a little bit of venison with that one. Uh-oh. Call down to come out. Uh-oh. Havos, that wasn't your time to fight. And the hook is just the carcass of the dead body of a... Oh, no. With that, they're going to lose too. And with a tier 2 dropping, 4 Anchors, seems like this is their time. Cinderin.
Havos has to buy back. They can triple Rex in 80 seconds. There's the buyback from the Gyro. And I think we saw it there. He used Satanic. He couldn't find the right target. He healed nothing that whole fight. I'm pretty sure.
Blast flying in. They're going to be able to get that D-ward. Maybe a bit ambitious with putting down the Hob so early, hoping that they could guarantee at least a tier 3 drop, but that's not the case. Dendy able to finish out the BKB. He'd been working on that for quite a while. Finally able to grab it. And it does cost their buyback on their precious Gyrocopter. 4 Anchors step back from that moment. And this is the part of the game where we might be able to see a lot of tension around the Roche Pit. It's probably going to be coming up here soon. Both sides would really love to get it, especially Navi, I'd imagine, at this point.
I have a feeling 4ASC want to fight for it this time.
Yeah.
I think now they've got enough of a grip on the game and they've got enough farm on especially the PL to actually be able to just fight Navi around the pit area. I also want to point out how, as you call it, the taxi service, how useful it is, just being able to, whenever they're pushing, they force the buyback of Gyro. Okay, it's not just you back out, you just teleport one hero top, he starts pushing out the lane. It was Trixie in this case on the axe. They can always just recall him back. And for that reason, Navi, seeing a hero defending a lane doesn't give them valuable information. Or, well, it is valuable, but not as valuable as in other games where it's like, okay, this hero is top, he TP'd up there, now we can move out. You just never have that sense, that feeling of safety when it comes to late game situations. Kind of similar, but in a way similar, but in a way completely different to what Pudge does, where the game just changes when Pudge is off the map, you don't know where you can go. When Coddle is in the game, you still can't read the map the same way with players just being on multiple lanes at the same time. Recall has a very low cooldown, by the way. It's only 15 seconds, and again, if he chakras before that, it's 11. So they can really just split push to their heart's content for the rest of the game.
Yeah, this is going to be definitely a big headache for Navi, and if you look at their lineup, how can they really deal with a lot of split push? Enchantress, it's not going to be easy for, I'd imagine. Obviously, Gyrocopter, it's good. Dendy will try to just use his own fatness to try to just brute force them down a bit. Night Stalker, not the best at being able to farm out huge waves of creeps, and it could prove to be a bit difficult. This could be the big swing for 4 Anchors to just kind of take the map right back and pressure Navi from all fronts.
I think they've overcome the hardest part of the game.
Yeah.
Now, that one push was the one they needed to beat, and they did. Now Navi has a 2k gold lead. I still think that puts 4ASC at a massive advantage. 5,000 on the experience is also irrelevant. If you look at the value of the gold as it is distributed, you've got a 12k net worth Pudge, who I personally feel like in most situations is less valuable than a 12k Coddle. The Shadow Demon being poor doesn't matter. Enchantress having a net worth of 7.4 is also really pretty irrelevant. And how good is your 20k Brood? I still haven't felt him in the fights.
Oh, so
Nico, this could be big. They're going to recall.
Oh, if they damage him, though, he's not going to be able to get that recall.
Oh.
They almost got him.
They found Trixie, though.
Yeah, he's going to be the one left behind here, and really this is just going to be a long-winded kill at this point. There's the Yules, a BKB coming up from Dendy. They do get the bite, and they'll slowly wither him down, but it is an axe after all, so it's going to take a bit of effort. Finally, they're going to get a bit more help coming out from Enchantress and certainly Havos there, so they'll get their kill. Not as precious as being able to grab that PL, but while they're all stuck at that top lane, they're putting their attention towards the Roche pit now. Unfortunately, it's going to be about another minute's time before it is up, but this is something we preemptively were talking about, you know, in the early portion of this game was, you know, was there a time clock on Navi's lineup? If it got to the late game, would 4 Anchors be able to withstand? When they pushed on in, how strong would the high ground defense be for 4 Anchors? And if they were able to hold that high ground defense, is it going to be their game to take back? And that storyline seems to be developing here right before our eyes. So we'll have to see what the actual conclusion is going to be. More items are coming out, however, even a butterfly for Phonic on his Broodmaw.
Yeah, that's Butterfly City. They got one on PL at the exact same time, actually.
Butterfly City. That sounds like a wonderful place to go to.
Yeah. They obviously have the MKB on Gyro. They've had it for a while, but it seems like Matumba isn't too concerned about that. Obviously, Butterfly still gives a lot of armor. The attack speed is great, and obviously agility and damage is always great, but evasion part of it, not so useful against the Gyrocopter, who is his main threat. I think, to an extent, Scotty might have been a better choice still. But honestly, judging from how the fights have been going for Matumba, maybe he doesn't need the evasion.
Maybe not.
There's a Roche.
It's up. Scouted obviously here from Na'Vi. They want it.
So Nico's in a very good position to cover this area.
Yeah.
Getting a lot of information with his Ags right now, but they're smoked, so maybe not so much.
It's popped. Are they going to go for the quick pick on the Night Stalker?
They're going to recall.
No. And Matoman's here. He's going to
Oh, this is the fight.
Can they do it? Mana Leak starts out on Arcel, but they're going to charge on forward. They're looking to go for the Gyrocopter. A jump in Requiem not going to be coming off because Dendy gets it canceled from the Dismember. Blaster flying on through. This time the Requiem will go off. It's Gyrocopter goes down first. Then they get the Night Stalker. It's 4 Anchors who are doing it. They're able to quickly wipe out 3, and now they're going to be taking the Roche. Cinderin, it looks like 4 Anchors are going to be able to do it this time. And I don't think there's going to be much to stop him. Dendy, oh, he tries to go for a hook, but look who's already there at his back, tapping on his shoulders. It's Trixie with the axe. They're going to get the call off. Dendy's going to go down. It's 4 down on the side of Na'Vi. 4 Anchors only lose their Shadow Demon, and now they move on in. There is no buyback for Havos. He still has 85 seconds time. Dendy's out for a minute, no buyback. This is crazy right now. 4 Anchors are going to be taking this game.
Yeah, they're even going to get Arts down the end here, just chasing him down with Blink Battle Hunger from Trixie.
There they go.
This has got to be game. 70 seconds on Gyro, 50 on Pudge, 60 on Enchantress. They will get 3 lanes here. Absolutely. Bottom tower goes down, mid tower goes down.
That's
GG.
it. Wow. Well,
Wow.
wow. Butterfly City. This is just crazy. I mean, it was very well played. You could tell that the lineup that Na'Vi got, it just felt like they were anticipating to have a big mid-game performance. Dendy would be doing his Dendy of old Pudge things, you know, being able to grab continuous kills, relieve the pressure away, forced to be that kind of a headache for 4 Anchors, and meanwhile Havos would just be farming, and he'd be able to peak at that point where they'd really push on into the base and take what they wanted. But because of maybe the strong defense that 4 Anchors had, holding their high ground, maybe a bit of a misplay there in the mid lane from Na'Vi. They got the kill onto Havost, or not even the kill. It was just they took Havost out of the equation, took over the rest of the team, and at that point, there was just so much momentum behind the Shadow Fiend and PL, there was just no answer, it felt like.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how Gyro is generally considered a very good counterpick to PL, but Forius, they actually don't care. I think this is the 3rd time of the tournament they pick PL into Gyro, and I think they've won every single time, so... Welcome back, guys.
Hello.
We've got Merlini as well as Hani here. What do you make of that game? Especially, I want to talk a little bit, or I want to hear your thoughts on the early game. Do you feel like Na'Vi got enough out of the first 10 to 15 minutes? Was that the problem, or did they screw up mid-game?
I think it happened like right after that when the Shadow Demon just played amazingly well, took down all their wards, and they killed like the Invisible Pudge. They thwarted his attempt in between the left side, the T1 and the T2s, and I just think they like outplayed him after the early game. That hook in the mid was... Did you see that hook?
Which one?
Like,
oh, yeah.
The one next to the range creep. It's like, what? So I think he scraped by with a couple of hooks there, but overall, I think they read what he was going to do a little bit too well. I think if he had simply just stayed in the fog and not ganked, it might have gone better for them, because then they would have just wasted their time waiting for ganks and not getting out of it, anything out of it.
I do agree. There was 2 wardings that happened where twice Pudge died trying to get a pick off. I mean, you can argue it was a bit lucky on the first one where you get the
lucky.
where you get the instant counter warding. Other than that, I felt that Brute should have done a bit better on the bottom lane and start when you had a PL that got a not solo kill, a support kill by the Coddle onto the Brood, which I felt shouldn't happen when you Brood, but it gives a lot of momentum for a PL. Usually in the very early game, you don't have that much impact into the game, and I just felt it meant so much in these fights. And in the very last fight, what I felt I was quite outstanding was that Mato had a rocket on him, and he knew in the Roche pit he had to dodge that, and he managed to get it on the very last second. It could have somewhat turned around if he did get stunned there, and I think it's a quite hard play to, when you're in melee range, to get that rocket dodge is pretty hard to me.
So very impressive stuff. So it's hard to give credit kind of one person on the side of 4 anchors when you got something like that happening. The supports being able to kind of keep those wards out, read the situation, anticipate that, Denny's looking to play pretty aggressive on his Pudge, or do you put more on someone like Matumbaman being able to pull the game back with his PL?
I just want to say Matumbaman got 35.6 fantasy points that game. That's actually completely ridiculous.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
You can't use that as a measurement for game impact or anything, but still, he had more than his team combined.
There were just a lot of big plays all around.
Quite a bit more than his team.
Like the disruption on the Coddle that was getting hooked. That was pretty big.
Mm-hmm.
Trixie's tank of the hook in the base. That was really big,
That
too.
was the biggest play.
Yeah, there were just so many big plays all around that you can't just pinpoint one person's MVP, I think. It was
No,
team effort.
I would say next to the PL performance, I feel like the silent hero in a way is the Shadow Demon.
I
Yeah,
agree.
he was amazing.
In the previous series as well, Shadow Demon has shined on the side of 4AC, and I would just try to value that ban more, or even that pick on the side of Na'Vi. Yeah.
I think it might be a better first phase pick for the way they play, too.
Yeah.
We'll have to see if that's going to be the case here. As you can see, Boogie on his Shadow Demon.
He was so poor, too. That's the thing. He didn't have a blink dagger or anything. He made so many plays without farm. And, anyway, like PL, he made plays, but he was huge. But the Shadow Demon making plays with this little item was amazing.
Yeah, it's like one of those kind of heroes. You just got the tools you need, and as long as you utilize them in an appropriate way, you could see just how much of an impact it can make throughout the rest of the game. So
I guess next to that early kind of lane fail by the Broodmother, I think the solo kill onto the Broodmother by the PL on the bottom tower, it gives a lot of momentum. It's just this kind of kill shouldn't happen, and if a PL, especially a PL that needs that farm, and it needs pretty much also the space that you get throughout that, it's just so important for how the game is running.
Do you think Gyro needed BKB?
With the amount of magic damage that came in,
Well, it blocks Diffusal Burn, too.
you can argue
It's
for
really good against PL,
Yeah.
actually.
I think you can argue for either BKB or you choose to get a Satanic over a crit. Where he had the MKB, he could get the Satanic.
Well, what about the
early.
SNY? I don't think he needs SNY.
I would argue. I think
You like SNY?
Yeah, I do think. I think you need some sustain. You need some sustain in the early game. If you like to go to SNY, I felt like it gave him the momentum in terms of rotation. They used the Ancients deck very well. Like that was the main source of income that made the difference to me in the mid game, where Hervos just kept on getting stacks, and that's why he was so far ahead in net worth. So for the rotation part, I think SNY is fine. He could get the BKB. Maybe it's a bit safer in these 5-on-5 engagements. But I also think having a Satanic a bit early before you get that crit could also make the difference.
And then when he finally had the Satanic, I think he didn't heal a single point with it in 2 fights in a row.
Yeah, isn't it not about the sustain, though? Because, like, Satanic's better for long, drawn-out fights. But after your flat cannon's done, I think, like, the fight's almost over at that point. Because you're not going to be able to single out the normal PL. So, I mean, I can see where he's coming from. But it's just difficult all around. I would say, because there's so much magic damage. Even like a soul catcher into like an illuminate will do a ton of damage to him.
I actually think this was a Rapier game. They got 3 Roshans in a row. He should have gone Rapier over the Satanic, and they should have pushed to end and used the flat cannon, kill everyone on the back lines if possible. There were a couple of Ghost Scepters, I think, maybe at that time. The Satanic was useless. Like, he did nothing with it all game. It's easy to say in hindsight, but when you look at the way the fights develop, he has one enemy, which is PL. Those kills, it's his biggest enemy. Like 3 fights in a row, it's what screws him over. And then he builds an item that's not good against PL. I don't think
Well,
that's
crit's also not that good because you can't crit on the flag.
The Daedalus could have also been a Rapier, but the way that game is going, it's difficult to make that call. Like, you're leading, you feel like you're in control, you don't want to throw away a Rapier. Arguably, giving a Rapier to PL can be super scary, even though it only works in the main. He still hits super hard very fast. It's a great steal for them to get. But I think that was one of the few times where Vos doesn't get a Rapier where he should, because he is really good at buying Rapier when it matters and when it's the right call.
I mean,
this game for me was one of them.
I would argue for a BKB over Rapier, though. I think when you're in this scenario where, like BKB, the one thing it does as well is just the amount of damage it negates next to magic damage, just from the mana burn, it's still quite significant.
All right, with that said, we're getting word that our next match is going to be starting up in just a moment, so we're going to throw it away to a small break. When we return, it'll be back for game number 2 here of Na'Vi going against 4 Anchors and Sea Captain. They're going to be leading off with the 1 win, so with that, we'll see you after a short break.
Try for this hook on Volix, but I think they're scared of the follow-up as Kvos doesn't care at least.
Right into a Rocket Barrage. The call-out's going to be there. Matamaman's going to eat it. Oh, the snag is going to be catching onto Trixie, a big meaty target, but because of the isolation, they do quickly bring him down. Now it's Na'Vi charging on forward, looking here if they can get Matamaman. They're dropping down the sentries to see if they can finish him off. He gets a good distance, Doppelganger, to step away from the harassment, and it looks like they're going to get close enough to the tower that Na'Vi are going to second guess before overcommitting, but what a beautiful hook from the north side. They're going to get the grab. Nemphy in big trouble here, and he is going to end up going down. Good snag from Funnick, catching him out with that nuke. We'll have to see if Na'Vi do overextend. Could be one stepping stone for 4 Anchors to try to run themselves right back into this game. There we go. There's the jump in. They're going to be able to get the tier 3. He gets the call and forced back so he can try to draw Havos deeper inside the base if possible. He gets mana leak, so as he does run out, he loses all that precious mana, and he's going to get finished off. So the Aegis is going to be down. Now the Yules. Oh! They catch Trixie, maybe even bodyguarding that hook right there. He is going to get caught with Dismember, but the destruction does come out. Big Requiem to fly, but
Havos taking so much damage!
The blast! Ooh, he is very low, but he is on the retreat to step away. They're going to end up bringing down the Enchantress. Looks like Dendy could be going down next. This is Matamaman's time. He charges on forward. Can they finish off? They can get Dendy before he's keeping away. Make it a double kill as they get Funnick. And now they're going to grab Soniko. This is the defense that 4 Anchors asked for. Here, he's gonna
this is the fight.
Can they do it? Mana Leak starts out on our side, but they're going to charge on forward. They're looking to go for the Gyrocopter. A jump in Requiem not going to be coming off because Dendy gets it canceled from the Dismember. Blaster flying on through. This time the Requiem will go off. It's Gyrocopter goes down first. Then they get the Night Stalker. It's 4 Anchors who are doing it. They're able to quickly wipe out 3, and now they're going to be taking the Roche. Cinderin, it looks like 4 Anchors are going to be able to do it this time. And I don't think there's going to be much to stop him. Dendy. Oh, he tries to go for a hook, but look who's already there at his back, tapping on his shoulders. It's Trixie with the axe. They're going to get the call off. Dendy's going to go down. It's 4 down on the side of Na'Vi. 4 Anchors only lose their Shadow Demon. Rather be no other place.